She used to ignore your messages, roll her eyes when your name popped up. Now, she's watching quietly, secretly, not out of love, but out of curiosity. Wondering why you've gone silent. Wondering why the man who once chased her shadow now moves like he doesn't even know she exists. You see, you didn't disappear into depression. You disappeared into discipline. And that silence, that stillness, that's what unsettles her. Because she just realized, you're not waiting for her to come back. You're becoming someone she can never touch again. This video isn't for men who want to win her over. It's for men who want to win themselves back. Let's talk about how you become the man who no longer needs closure, because he is the closure. Point 1. Starve her of attention. There's a silent currency in modern relationships that most men waste without even realizing it. Attention. Every double tap, every rapid-fire reply, every anxious scroll through her story is a quiet surrender of power. You think you're just staying connected. You think your presence online will remind her you care. But in reality, every time you chase, every time you watch her glow under 100 thirsty comments, you become just another background noise in her life. The truth is, she's used to being pursued. From the moment she opened her first social app, men have flooded her inbox, validated her selfies, worshipped her shadow. She's conditioned to expect pursuit. But the moment you stop orbiting her like she's your sun, the moment you become your own source of light, she feels a shift. It rattles her, because now she's looking for the mirror that once reflected her value, and it's gone. That's power, not in manipulation, but in self-discipline, in not giving what hasn't been earned. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "He who is not master of himself is not free." When you're checking her story updates more than your goals, you're not free. You're enslaved to the dopamine hit of her attention. But when you redirect that energy, when you stop watching, stop replying, stop feeding her ego, you reclaim your freedom. And that's when she begins to notice. Not because you yelled, not because you blocked her, but because you disappeared without flinching. No tantrum, no drama, just silence. Picture this. While she's trying to trigger you with a vague quote or a thirst trap, you're at the gym or building your business or rereading Marcus Aurelius instead of rereading her last text. You're not ignoring her to be cruel. You're honoring yourself. Your silence isn't passive, it's powerful. It says, "I don't need to perform for your attention. I am already enough." And in that stillness, in that lack of reaction, you become something she doesn't know how to handle. A man who is untouchable. A man who cannot be pulled like a puppet. A man she can no longer control. Let her wonder. Let her check who's watching and find your name missing. Because when you stop needing her gaze, you become the one she can't look away from. Point 2. Choose growth over guilt. The day you decide to finally put yourself first, to hit the gym, cut off toxicity, build your business, protect your peace, don't be surprised when she calls it selfish. Not because it is, but because it challenges the role she once played in your story. You see, growth shifts the power dynamic. When you were broken, silent, always available, always compromising, you were easy to control. You were predictable. But now, you've become a wild card. No longer desperate for approval. No longer begging for crumbs of attention. That shift doesn't just confuse her, it threatens her illusion. Let's be real. Maybe you were the guy who always showed up when she called, even when she disappeared for days. Maybe you tiptoed around her moods, held your tongue, sacrificed your needs just to keep the relationship alive. You shrunk yourself, not because you were weak, but because you were loyal. And now, when you've stopped chasing, when you speak with authority, when you choose your purpose over her chaos, she says, "You've changed." But that's the point. You were never meant to stay small just to keep someone else comfortable. Comfort never made men great. Discomfort, that's where growth lives. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That's what growth costs. Misunderstanding, criticism, isolation. But here's the hard truth most men avoid. Your growth will always feel like betrayal to those who fed off your self-abandonment. Let that sink in. You choosing to level up might hurt her ego, but it will heal your soul. And you don't owe anyone an apology for becoming the man you were meant to be. So stop explaining your glow. Stop diluting your ambition. Stop softening your tone to keep peace with people who were never at war for you. Real men don't apologize for rising. They build silently, ruthlessly, until their presence speaks louder than their pain ever did. And one day you'll walk into a room, say nothing, and still be heard. This is your time to grow. Guilt-free, fiercely, fully. Point 3. Make discomfort your discipline. There's no strength without struggle, no mastery without monotony, no transformation without tension. That's not just a catchy phrase. It's the uncomfortable truth most men spend their lives running from. We're living in an age where pleasure is a click away, comfort is sold as happiness, and pain is seen as a problem to fix instead of a path to walk. But the man you want to become, he doesn't exist in comfort. He's not on your couch. He's not behind another self-help video or another round of tomorrow. He's buried under years of avoidance, softened by excuses, waiting for you to choose the hard thing instead of the easy out. Think about the moments that actually shaped you, not the ones where everything went right, but the ones where everything fell apart. The breakup that crushed you, the job that didn't call back, the silent nights no one saw where you questioned your worth. That's the forge. That's the arena. That's where men are made. Not through applause, but through the echo of your own footsteps in the dark when no one else is clapping, but you keep showing up. The cold shower, the lonely gym session, the early morning. Discipline when your mind screams, stay in bed. Every one of those moments is a vote for the man you say you want to become. Marcus Aurelius wrote, ask yourself, is this something that is necessary? Discomfort is necessary, not because we're meant to suffer, but because growth demands pain. Comfort breeds complacency, but discomfort? That's where you meet the edges of your limits and sharpen them. Every time you avoid the uncomfortable, you trade long-term power for short-term relief. And that trade always costs more than it gives. So the next time you feel pain, emotional, physical, mental, don't run, don't numb. Sit in it, train in it, become familiar with it. Because when pain becomes your partner, progress becomes your path. Discomfort isn't punishment, it's permission. Permission to evolve, to build, to reclaim the fire inside you that the world tried to smother. Discipline isn't something you wake up with. It's something you bleed for. And if you want a life that doesn't need validation, that commands respect without demanding it, you have to stop making comfort your god and start making discomfort your discipline. Point 4. Rejection is redirection. She left. She picked someone else. She moved on like you were just a placeholder in her timeline. Good. Let that truth settle in your bones, not as a wound, but as a release. You've just been given the rarest kind of freedom, the freedom of clarity. Because when someone exits your life so easily, they're not exposing your weakness. They're revealing their own inability to recognize real value. You're no longer chained to someone who only loved you on the condition that you stayed convenient. Now, you're free. Free from the mask you wore to keep her. Free from the emotional weight of performing for love that was never unconditional. Rejection isn't punishment, it's precision. It cuts through the fantasy and brings you face to face with reality. And reality is sacred, brother. It's the furnace where real men are forged. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Well, if it is not love, do not chase it. And if it is not mutual, do not beg for it." Her walking away wasn't the universe punishing you. It was redirecting you. It was pulling the curtain back so you could see who's really in your corner. And more importantly, who you truly are without her. Ask yourself, what can I create in the silence she left behind? That void, that ache in your chest when you remember. The way she smiled at someone else, that's not emptiness, that's space. Space for you to build, to sharpen, to evolve. And you don't fill it with petty revenge or passive scrolling. You fill it with discipline. You pour into your body, your craft, your mission. Not to prove to her that she lost something, but to prove to yourself that you were never the man who needed her validation to be powerful. Her absence is your invitation. Not to collapse, but to construct. Not to react, but to rise. So let her go. And let every rep, every book, every silent win be a brick in the empire you're building. Because the best revenge is no revenge at all. It's the quiet confidence of a man who became everything she thought he never could and didn't look back to show her. Point 5. Let your results speak. You don't need to convince anyone that you've changed. You don't need to preach self-worth in Instagram captions or flood your feed with motivational quotes. Growth isn't loud. It's silent. It's disciplined. It's what you do when no one's watching, and especially when no one claps. Men who rise don't need validation. They don't need to post about being on their grind. They're too busy grinding. The world doesn't believe words. It only respects evidence. So stop trying to explain yourself to people who never saw your value in the first place. Start becoming undeniable. Your progress is the message. Your bank account that once echoed stress now reflects strategic power. Your physique, sculpted not for vanity but from discipline. It's a quiet reminder that you own your time, your emotional control, your ability to remain calm when chaos erupts. That is a kind of power most men never taste. And your clarity, your consistency, your refusal to fold. It's the ultimate proof that you've evolved into something rare, not loud, not perfect, but unshakable. When she circles back, and yes she will, you don't block her. You don't rage. You don't rub your glow up in her face. You simply don't respond. Not from spite, but from stillness. You've outgrown the part of you that would have cared for closure. You've leveled up from the version of yourself who needed to be seen. Because when a man is truly focused, when he's genuinely free, he doesn't look back. Not even to prove a point. Seneca once said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." And that's what this is. You don't need to tell her or anyone that you've changed. You are the change. You've stopped trying to be understood by people who were committed to misunderstanding you. You're building something. Now, a life, a legacy, a mindset that no one can take from you again. Not her. Not the past. Not your pain. That's not revenge. That's rebirth. And the most beautiful part? She'll see it. But by then, it won't even matter. The final truth. Remember this. You're not hard to love. You were just loving in the wrong direction. And the moment you stop trying to win her over is the moment you win yourself back. Not with noise, not with revenge, but with relentless, unstoppable progress, because the most dangerous man is the one who turned his heartbreak into horsepower and built an empire she'll never be allowed to enter.